a lot of people in the holistic industry, especially, well, I find they struggle with their finances. There are all these phrases out there like money is the root of all evil, things like
Yes.
that. And it's not spiritual to have money. There are lots of beliefs and blocks around money. Why do you think that is? And why is it specific to this industry?
Well, one of the reasons is because we consider ourselves spiritually aware. And in just about every spiritual scripture, let's start with the Bible and the camel and the needle. And, it's better to be to give than to receive. And a rich man has as much possibility as getting as a camel does through an eye of a needle. It's in our DNA since the beginning of time. And so right now it's looked upon, you look at Christ and he was a carpenter. You look at the Buddha, and even though he was originally a prince, what did he do? He gave up his own kingdom, and went on his spiritual search. And so every spiritual figure that we have out there, I mean, even when you look at political spiritual people like, Mahatma Gandhi, who liberated a nation through his whole message of nonviolence. I mean, he lived poorly, ended up being assassinated for that. And we've even learned, when I look at Martin Luther King, he had a message of unity of the races in America. He was assassinated. And so it's not only about finances, it's also about being willing to wholly express truth.
Yeah.
Unadorned. Through the ages, when people have had a message of truth, they've been killed for it. Christ was put on a cross because he wanted to tell people that the kingdom of God lives within you. If you look through the time, so it's dangerous. It's in our DNA. If you're understanding the field of epigenetics, one of the things we uncover in the journey is some of the cell memories we uncover are not our own. We have genetically inherited cell memories. And that consciousness of it is a dangerous thing. People get killed for expressing unadorned truth. Then we've also learned that in order to be spiritual, you need to be a monk. You need to live austerely. Enlightened masters, when I sat with Punjaji, he wouldn't own anything. He lived in his daughter-in-law's house. He wouldn't let an ashram be set up because he did not want to own anything. And so through the thousands of years, epigenetically, that has been passed on. Rich people hurt other people, and spiritual people live austerely. They have a more Zen-like existence. And so what happens is there is a prayer, a strong prayer, someone in the holistic field to serve humanity, to serve healing, to be part of the wave of awakening going on in our world. And then our very genetics are working against us, because it's not spiritual to charge for events. It's not spiritual. But how can you continue to give events unless you charge? But then the person in the seminar world feels guilty for every seminar that they charge for. But the only way that they can continue to give them is they can't, venues cost a lot of money, which I'm sure you've already figured out, giving this conference in London, and the sound equipment, the lighting, the staff, the marketing, all of it costs a huge amount of money. And yet people have it in their mind, well, I shouldn't have to pay. I go to church and, oh yeah, I can make an offering, but that'll be a nominal amount. The only thing is the Catholic Church is one of the richest businesses in the world. And they can afford to do that, And so I coming back to the journey, that is one of the issues that we go after. Genetically, we go after it, and from a belief system point of view, because these beliefs get stored inside your cells, and then what society believed, and even your class in society. Like, I grew up in a middle class home in America, and grew up with a very much a Protestant work ethic, and breaking out of that mold has been a real struggle for me, and then with the journey, thank God, I'm free from any notion of that, any notion of low class, middle class, or upper class. I don't have any ideas around that. I do feel that the finances that come in from grace, and that it's my job as shepherd of the journey to make sure that goes back out and is used in service for the highest and best with our work. But I have no problem with the finances coming in that are needed to serve the highest good for the seminars and for the people in it. And so there is a method here where you can get to not only the emotional blocks, but the genetic and epigenetic belief systems that have been passed down generationally. Because sometimes you can have done a lot of work on yourself, and you're still fighting with your genetics. It's like it's in your blood, And so some of the work that I said we expanded the journey. And as soon as I began to learn how to work with DNA and what's stored in our genes and is passed on epigenetically, then that opens up the doors for people to live in a healthier way. One should have a healthy relationship to finances, a healthy and I teach that to my therapists. You need to have a healthy relationship to your finances, to your family, to your work, and to caretaking your own body. Hopefully that we'll be conscious and a shepherd of our own bodies, a caretaker of our own bodies, our finances, our businesses, and the people who are employees. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to bring wholeness into every area. But yes, it's like you're fighting an uphill battle, with a boulder, in your hands, fighting up the hill in this particular industry.
Yeah.
Because people say, well, why should I have to pay to go see a practitioner who's working in the natural field? And it's like, how much do you pay to go see a doctor? Mm-hmm. And to get, or to see a psychiatrist, or even to see a lawyer?
Yeah.
And yet people with the journey, they go through, we had one psychiatrist that said they had to complete more case studies and go through more teaching with the journey to become a journey therapist than they did learning to be a psychiatrist.
Right.
And so, that schooling, whatever anyone's schooling is, mm-hmm. being an acupuncturist, being, a personal development, being a life coach, being NLP therapist, you spent a lot of your time, your energy, your love, your passion, and your life force and money to have that degree.
Yeah.
And your time is worth something. And the results that we get with people are life-saving, life-changing. Mm-hmm. And you can't put a price tag. And I don't care what someone's field is who's watching this. All of you, the time that you are offering to life, it's not like you're offering it. I know for myself, I give 1,001% when I'm teaching, when I'm doing a therapy. And money is not in my consciousness. And I don't actually even see the money, but it does go to pay for all our employees and for the business and for the seminars and everything else to take place. And I believe that everyone who's watching this video is the same way. They got into this field for all the right reasons because they wanted to serve life. And there's nothing wrong with wholly serving life and opening the door for healthy, wholesome finances to come in. They don't have to be connected. What I mean for this, it's not like for like. You know, like Richard Branson, in one conversation, he could lose 43 million, and in the next conversation, win 43 million. And people often equate time and money together. And what I would say, divorce them and make sure you charge healthy, conscious amount for services, and then give your whole heart, the purity of your heart, the immensity of all your skills, the passion that you have for what you're doing, and just give yourself, and don't even, finances are not in the picture. That's been set up ahead of time. You let your clients know, you let your seminar people know what things cost ahead of time, and you charge a fee. I mean, I don't charge anything close to what Tony Robbins charges, but I charge what is necessary in order to keep the business running and for me to take care of myself, my employees, and to take care of the venues. You know, I charge that. And the truth is, I'm not in it for the money, and I don't believe anyone in this business is. I think we're in it for the service, and one needs to get real about the finances.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that, and I know that the kinds of people who are going to come to a holistic conference are already in this field. So I'm preaching to the already converted, and it's a lesson we all need to learn.
There are a lot of people coming to the Holistic Business Summit who, like me, work on their own, and they're coaches, therapists, practitioners, healers, life coaches, all of that. And from my personal experience and speaking to others, I know sometimes I struggle with motivation and sometimes even loneliness. I sometimes crave someone to turn to and bounce ideas around with in the business. And I used to have that. I don't have that anymore. And I know a lot of people coming don't have that. What advice would you give about motivation and loneliness in business?
My first thing I would say about motivation, you know, you need to do what you're doing because you love it.
Yeah.
If you don't love it, you should not be doing it. Mm-hmm. For me, I breathe with love for the journey. I live, eat, breathe the work. I live the work. And it is I know that I could have lost my life with the tumor. And it was a life-threatening tumor. And I feel that I was given a second bite of the cherry of life. And that part of my service is offering this work. And so for me, I always feel it's a privilege to be on a conference call like this, in a conference like your summit happening in September. And so I don't have problem with motivation. So if there's problem with motivation, there could be two things going on. One, you're not taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. It's so important, and I know I'm speaking to people who are in our field. We don't take care of ourselves. We are so focused on helping others, serving others, devoted to serving life and humanity. And, you know, in the Bible, physician, heal thyself. And so time needs to be spent on nourishing yourself, feeding your own soul, take caring of the body and your own spiritual life. And then if you love what you do, you have all the energy and the passion in the world to keep going out there. Now, the loneliness aspect is a very real aspect. And one of the things, because I am living the work, I'm getting a journey process once a week while I'm on tour. And I just go to another practitioner to get one. And I've created a whole, I call it a sangha, a journey family around me, who I consider my deepest, closest beloveds. And they are people I can turn to. And in this work, it's very important because as you work with other people, they are a mirror to your own issues. Mm-hmm. And they will drive to the surface your own issues. And then you need work out there to help clear that. And you need people to work with. So no matter if you're a life coach or an acupuncturist or a self-development person, you need to have your life set up that you're taking care of yourself. And one of the ways you nourish yourself is keeping company with conscious people. Mm-hmm. And I've heard every master say that I've had the privilege of sitting with, be careful of the company you keep, because you become the company you keep. Not to become like the company you keep. You become the company you keep. And the truth is, we're all made of nothing but consciousness. So I surround myself with excellent, conscious company. And I know I can turn to get the help that I need, and also the support that I need, the connection that we all long for as human beings. And that's part of the picture of nourishing yourself as a therapist, is feeding your soul. I go to Byron Bay usually all of December and January into February, and that's in Australia. And the reason I choose Byron Bay is because it feeds me. It's where the rainforest meets the sea. It's pristinely beautiful ocean. Mm-hmm. And I get to go to all the organic farmers markets, and just about every spiritual teacher on the planet has ended up in Byron Bay at some point or another. So while I'm there, I don't know if you know Miten and David Pramal, the beautiful singers, I'll have them over for dinner and then invite a whole bunch of other spiritual friends from Path of Love, from Osho, from Papaji, and we'll be chanting that night. And I make it a point of knowing that part of the way I feed myself is to nourish myself with the company of fellow lovers of truth. And so this is part of your responsibility to yourself, is to create this community. And so that is the conscious community where festivals like this conference, this summit you're giving, yes, they're going on weekly in Byron Bay. And so, and if I want to go do yoga, I mean, there are about 40 different kinds of yoga classes I could take. Mm-hmm. If I like this, it's important. I've gotten to a place where I know that the infinite grace, this that is my soul, gives the seminars. Mm-hmm. It requires no help. My only job right now is to take care of me. And that means to take care that I get my green smoothies in the morning, that I get my body work, that I get my yoga, my meditation, and that I really surround myself with fellow lovers of truth. Uh-huh. It's part of my abundance picture.
Thank you. That's amazing. And I love Byron Bay too. There are dolphins there, and I used to live in Australia, so I know Byron Bay, and it is a special place, very special.
Oh my God, I heard a tiny bit of Aussie mix in there in your accent.
Really?
Kevin, my husband, he surfs there. I took up surfing at 50, and he's a Welsh surfer, so surfing since he was a kid, and he often is surfing in the waves, and the dolphins surf with him. So there'll be 6 stacked in a wave, surfing with him. And talk about getting right into the zone. And for him, that's his bliss. Whereas chanting, ecstatically might be my bliss. He loves that. I mean, I love every sport there is that exists. It sounds crazy to be talking to a holistic audience, but I don't think you can emphasize enough how much you need to nourish yourself. You're doing that. You are nourished by swimming with dolphins, and you are living there in heaven, there in Hawaii. I mean, the rest of us, are sitting here, very jealous of you, and yet it's one of the most spiritual things you can do is to take care of what makes your spirit soar, what makes your heart sing, what brings up bliss for you. It doesn't have to be sitting in a cross-legged position in front of a master. It can be a worship of life, as you're doing. And
yes.
so, yeah.
I love what I do, and I love being with the dolphins, and I also equally love having people come with me to be with the dolphins. So it's both. Whenever I'm with the dolphins, whether it's introducing people to the dolphins or just me with the dolphins, my heart sings, my soul soars. It's just the most amazing for me ever.
Yeah.
The land of Hawaii as well is just
yes, and that will give you the energy then in this field to go ahead and give seminars and do your private practice and all of the above. It just fills you.
Yes, totally.
I know I keep reiterating myself, but I just know in this field we think of ourselves last.
Those that want more abundance in their lives, financial abundance, every sort of abundance, what tools do you recommend? And I think I already know the answer, but I just want to ask you.
Well, I believe that you are naturally abundant, but that what we do is we erect barriers to that. So, let's say the abundance is we want to find our soulmate and live a life with a loved one. And we actually see someone, and we're at a party and our heart skips a beat. But the next thing that arises, they would never want me. And so they'll want someone more beautiful, someone more successful, and so we don't go after this that we want because we are blocked by the negative beliefs inside of us. And then it can be the kind of thing that we love and have a passion for a certain area of our life, but we don't have the belief that we deserve to make money in that area. So, we wanted to let that be our job, but we don't deserve it. We don't deserve finances. We're not good enough at it. We don't have enough talent, enough potential. And so these beliefs act like blocks. And it's like one part of you is putting out, I want that relationship. I want that job. And another part of you is putting out the belief, no way, I'm not the kind of person that will get that job. I'll never find my soulmate. And it's not that something bad happens. When that happens, we put out these prayers, I passionately want this. And no, there's no way I'll get it. It's not that something bad happens. It's usually that nothing happens. And again, I don't know any more powerful direct tool than the journey to get to the root cause of what gave you the belief that you aren't worthy of someone that handsome, that beautiful, that incredible, of that caliber. Whatever gave you the belief that you would never get that job. Other people get that job, just not you. And it's not important. I don't have a belief in positive affirmation because I feel that part of us says, I'm going to get that job. I'm going to get that job. I'm going to get that job. And another part of us says, bullshit. There's no way that you're going to get that job. And so I think it's more important, rather than reframing ourselves and thinking positively, that you get to the root of that is saying, bullshit, you will never get that job. And clear that out so that you can open the doors to letting abundance flow into your life naturally. And the only other thing I would say around that is what I did say earlier, is that make sure it's what you want. Sometimes we're going after goals that we think we want, or that our parents said we should want, or that society said we should want, or our spouse says we should want, our kids say we should want. And because of that, it's not coming from our heart. There's no real passion for it. And I've found when there's gratitude and a real truthful passion for something, it acts like a magnet to draw that which you wish to create in your life. But if you're not, come see, come ça about it, life's going to say, okay, they don't really want it. Mm. So first and foremost, clear out your blocks to this that you really want. All the negative beliefs, get to the root of it, finish with them, come to a place of wholeness and full potential, and then start putting out prayers for something that you passionately love doing, that you passionately want. And follow your heart, let your heart guide you. I mean, with the journey, I just had a prayer when I healed. It was an overwhelming, all-consuming prayer that this life-saving healing work get into people's households, that people from all walks of life, no matter who they were, would get this work, and that they would use it to free up their lives, to heal. And I had a prayer that there'd be healing within families. And, we developed an organization, a humanitarian organization called Journey Outreach. We've had over 100 humanitarian projects where we're actually reaching into over 100, actually, just in the continent of Africa, and in the slums and the ghettos and the townships, and in the Aboriginal communities in Australia, in North America, in the First Nations people in Canada and America. We work with orphanages in India. And my prayer that whether people could even afford a book, which none of these people can, my passion was to make this work available to all walks of life. Now, in order to do that, what funds Journey Outreach? Mm-hmm. The Western countries that can't afford a seminar. Mm-hmm. The people that can't afford, that have the income to buy a book, go to a seminar, then we can donate to Journey Outreach and make it go into these communities where they could never even afford to read a book. Mm-hmm. And so this is what I'm saying, an all-consuming passion. Find out what your heart's deepest desire is, how you want to serve life. I feel if someone's watching this video, the chances are they've had a whispering of what they really want to do. And they've been afraid to follow it, or afraid to wholly commit to it, or didn't think they were wholly worthy of it, or didn't think that people would even want to come and hear what they had to say, or even would want to read the book that they have in their heart to write. And again, clear any blocks, all that bullshit, and then let the heart's deepest prayer give rise to itself. And then follow the breadcrumbs. Just let your heart guide you. And the journey started in people's homes. Yeah. And then it just snowballed, and it moved into just being a grassroots movement in Britain. Mm. There was a woman in the Sunday Times who did a 2-page spread about healing journey. And that week we had 2,500 phone calls. And I had to do a journey once a week for the next 6 months to follow up with all the people that wanted to go to the Journey Intensive. And up until that point, I was doing tons of free of charge seminars, into Chester Cancer Center and into churches and into, all kinds of groups, alternatives, and into any holistic organization which would see me. And I started out with nothing. Mm-hmm. I started out with nothing, staying on people's couches in their living room, offering all these free of charge events, and then the occasional journey intensive. And so that I could get word out. This was before the book was written.
Mm-hmm.
And then once word got out and it started developing. And so all I had was a calling and a realization that I had work that humanity needed. And everyone watching this video has some contribution to make to life.
Mm-hmm.
So being abundant, I feel abundance when I had no money and I was living on $50 a week for my food budget, you know, and I feel abundant when I'm blessed with being able to be in Greece and go on a water ski holiday. Sure. My abundance is not touched by how much or how little money is here. And still, it's an area that in the holistic field, we all need to get more healthy and conscious in. We all of us are abundant. I remember Chopra once said at a charity function, someone raised their hand, where are we going to get the money? Mm. And Chopra said, well, from wherever it is right now.
Oh, I love that. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Right, I'm going to write that one down.
And I do feel when you fling open the doors and you have a passionate prayer, that life hears that. If every cell in your body is resonating with some great love or desire, life floods in to support you. And it comes in the most unexpected manner in a video like this. Like now that I know that you give classes and take people out with dolphins, absolutely, for sure, I'm going to make sure that when I come to Hawaii, and also when I have friends that are there, I'm going to be sending them to you.
Oh, thank you.
You know, no, but what I'm saying is, it's the bliss that shines, the love that shines in your eyes,
yes,
and the gratitude that you feel.
Yes.
That draws life. Life says, oh, there's a grateful heart. She loves doing this. Let's shower her with more of what she loves doing. And that is my experience, that when there's a cup half full, life says they're not so grateful for what they've got. Okay, well, let's find somebody that is grateful for what they have. Mm-hmm. And when you have so much gratitude, life can't resist you. You're like a magnet. It showers you in all that you love doing. So, you know, whatever your finances are, this living with the dolphins and swimming and photography. Mm-hmm. I mean, I said to you in that email that you could give up your day job and just do photography of these gorgeous, blissful animals. I mean, they're stunning. And your love of them comes through. Oh. And life cannot resist that. Mm-hmm. I don't believe life can resist love, that life can resist gratitude. Oh. So, yes, cultivating a heart of gratitude, yeah. It's irresistible.
Yes, thank you. And I will now have to send you some of my short videos I've made of the dolphins as well. I spent my time.
Put them all up. Speak to Daniel and make sure they get up on social media, and so people can find out. And the problem is you'll probably be deluged with people wanting to come and be with you.
I would be so grateful. That would be like a dream come true. The more time I can spend out in Hawaii, the better. So bring it on. That'd be amazing.
You know, it's interesting. After our practitioner program, you know, we go through, I think, six modules, and then they go through the practitioner program. And for the first time last year, we employed Daniel Wagner. And the reason we did is we realized that the one area that we were weak in as an organization is we had not trained our practitioners how to market themselves, how to use social media. They had phenomenal training in becoming a therapist and speaking and in all areas of healing their own life. They didn't know, well, what do I do? I mean, practically in the world. And Daniel is specialist in exactly that. And so I feel like, okay, well, I needed to practically look how I could best support the therapist in getting word out about their individual practice. Now, when someone becomes a lawyer, they become a doctor. After that, I mean, it's different with the NHS, but in other countries where we don't have the NHS, how do you let people know that there's a doctor here that is taking patients?
Yeah.
And with a lawyer, same thing. So usually they join another doctor's office or another lawyer's office and sort of take on that practice with that person. But we're not living in that day and age anymore. We're living in an age of social media. Mm-hmm. And you're giving a business conference for holistic people who have holistic businesses, right?
Yeah.
And Daniel Wagner will be speaking there, and he can really, in a practical way, teach you how to create abundance in your business in terms of getting word out. And that is something that everyone should look at as well.
There's so much going on in the world right now, and I'm talking specifically London, because that's where we are. Things like Grenfell Tower, and then all these people going around on the road chucking acid in people's faces. It's actually a really scary time. And in my life, this time right now, actually, for me personally, has been the scariest time to be in London. As you know, this is the Holistic Business Summit, the keys to thriving in today's world. I'm just wondering what tools you would use and what you'd say about thriving with what is going on in the world, because I think it affects so many of us in so many different ways.
It was interesting on the day that the guy drove a truck over the bridge and mowed down people in London. I was about a mile from that, and I was in London at the time, and I knew that it would be creating a lot of terror for people, a lot of fear for people. And for myself, truthfully, I've always had a belief that when it's my time to go, I'll go. And so I have put myself with Journey Outreach into situations where I've had to have a 5-car white police car escort into the heart of ghettos, like a 3 million person ghetto in Africa, and then be met by a 5-car police car black escort right into the heart of the ghetto. And because my prayer to serve is stronger than my fear. And so I was, in Israel while the Iron Dome was going on, and they were having the bombing attacks. And so there's a lot happening right now with attacks and with the refugees and with terrorism. And for myself, I can't live in fear. Mm-hmm. I have to go about my life living what I believe is truthful and trust that, if I'm meant to go, I'll go. And it could be I walk across the street and I'm bumped off by a bus because I didn't look the right way, And so I wish I could give any better advice other than, of course, I've used the journey to get to the root of my fears. Mm-hmm. So when I've had survival fears, which is what you're talking about,
yes,
and how to thrive where you no longer feel safe, I use the journey to clear that out and then listen to my heart. And I've always said, I have a very strong gut instinct. I'm from New York. Mm-hmm. And from the days when it used to be, in the 1980s, if you were born in New York and you died in New York, and this was before Giuliani came in, and it was when the mob was in there running New York, your chances of dying by murder were 1 in 13. Okay, so pretty strong circumstances. Yeah. Giuliani came in, cleaned it up, kicked out the mob, kicked out everybody, and it's now one of the safest cities in the United States. It was the safest city in the United States for a long time. But what I did learn to do is I learned to listen to my body the way an animal does and sense danger. And there were blocks in New York City that you start walking down that block and you go, nope. And you turn right around and you go 3 blocks away and then go that same direction on a block that you knew there wasn't. Mm-hmm. And I learned to listen to my gut instinct. And when I had to have bodyguards in Africa, what happened was I said to them, how do you know that there's danger? And he said, well, you feel it in your gut. You feel it in your gut. And so bodyguards even sense it. It's not that they're looking around everywhere. They're sensing. And so I have a pact with Kevin that if ever I'm going to get on a plane and I get one of those hits, those gut instincts, don't get on this plane. I'm not getting on it. Good. If that means I'm not, if that means I miss a seminar, I miss a seminar. But I had to learn to rely on that in New York City. Mm-hmm. And even with that, I got mugged twice, so, I overrode the instinct, so I got to the root of my survival fears, and I simultaneously am not stupid. Right. I listen to my body, and I believe my body never lies. And as long as I don't override it, I will always get the danger signal. So again, this is a journey with each person's soul, and whether they want to meet and face their survival fears, and whether they want to really start listening to their bodies, because we are like every animal in the animal kingdom. We sense danger.
Yes.
And so on a practical level, that's how I would do it.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's, again, more wonderful advice. And on that note, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me for this interview. Thank you for giving up your time. And I am really looking forward to seeing you in September for the Holistic Business Summit.
And I'm so looking forward to meeting everybody in person and just this way, but one-to-one and heart-to-heart, eye-to-eye. And so I look forward to meeting everyone who's on this and listening to this, and also to you. Looking forward to meeting you. And until then, a heartfelt namaste.